My name's Hunter Wade of the Athletes Lounge podcast. I'm here with my guest.
And I'm Lauren Votaw. I'm the head girls basketball coach at Fishers High School.
So, Coach, you started the season 1-1, and what's your thoughts on the season? So far, and it's the first couple games.
Well, I think that we've played two quality opponents in Ben Davis and Center Grove, and two very different opponents. And I think that we have learned some things that we're going to have to improve upon as we go throughout the season after our loss on Saturday to Center Grove. But we got back in the gym this morning and we're ready to go. And I'm excited to see how we can make those adjustments.
So, you were very, very successful as a program last year. What do you think led to that last year?
I think a big part of that was the culture that that group of girls had built. We virtually brought the same team back from the season before, and they have just done a really nice job of learning how to be great teammates, but also hold each other accountable, and hold each other to really high standards. We just have a lot of neat things going on as far as culture goes, and I think that that was a huge part in that. And obviously, excuse me, we have players who are extremely talented as well. And last year, that we had a lot of extremely talented players, but you can't just have talent. You have to have the work ethic. And then, like I said, the culture and the chemistry to go with that. And we did last year.
So, at this point in the season, what do you really know about your team right now?
I would say at this point in the season, I do know that this team is going to be coachable. I learned that. I knew that, but that was reinforced this morning when, we came back in the gym after getting beat pretty good on Saturday night, and they were ready to learn and ready to take some tough criticism and ready to get better. I know about this team that they are experienced. We do have experience. Several players from last year's state championship runner-up team, and some new players who have been around our program. And so I know that we're experienced. And I also know that we have some things we need to work on, and that this team is not last year's team. And that's not, good or bad. It's just they are their own, and they're working to formulate their own identity right now.
So, just kind of going back to that state runner-up last year, the how similar is your team's, offense and defensive philosophy from last year to this year?
Very similar. We haven't changed a whole lot. We returned 6 of our 11 players that were on the roster last year. And so they're very familiar with how we do things. And I think that there was, no need to really make any drastic changes. Obviously, we've made some personnel changes and things here or there, but for the most part, we are very similar in what we do.
So how would you describe yourself as a coach when it comes to offense and defense? What do you kind of like to do on a game-to-game basis?
I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. I don't want to bog our players down with a lot of information. And so I think that's what you get. I believe that we need to be really good at the things that we do. And so I think that, offensively, you'll see us run, the basic actions that we run. And obviously we'll throw wrinkles in there, and defensively, trying to be very fundamental. But yeah, I think I would describe myself as simple, and just trying to be really good at the little things that make a big difference.
At this point in this season, are you using these? Do you care so much about the actual win and loss record, or do you care more about if your team executing? So when it comes to sectional time, your team's ready.
I think I'm going to take kind of the in between on that one. I think that we obviously we want to compete, and these players, quite honestly, have not lost a lot of games in their high school careers. We've been extremely fortunate to win a lot of basketball games over the last 4 years. And so none of these players have really experienced a lot of losing. And that's not anything that anybody really loves. But at the same time, I would say that, our focus on these first 5 games is really on getting better at what we know we need to get better at. Our first conference game is November 17th. And the conference title is something that we've been fortunate enough to get a share of 3 out of the last 4 years. And that's hard to do. Our conference is the toughest in the state, top to bottom, I think. And so being able to bring it on 7 separate nights is really hard, but that's kind of where we start. You know, we really want to make sure that we're as sharp as we can be by November 17th when we travel to Westfield.
So when you win the conference, when you win the conference so much, what is the expectation? Like what is your expectation every year? Is it a sectional victory? Is it a conference victory? What is the base expectation from you?
So, kind of one of my mission statement says that I want the Lady Tigers program to be competing for a title in the conference and in the sectional every year. It's hard to say. We don't set out at the end of the year. I honestly don't set out at the beginning of the year with our only goal being, to win a sectional title. I think that I'm very much more a process oriented coach. And I try to not get too wrapped up in rankings and predictions and stuff like that. I think that our sectional is absolutely brutal. And I think that you can have a wildly successful season and show a lot of growth and be an excellent basketball team and get knocked out in the first round of the sectional, the way that the current state tournament is in Indiana. And so as far as our goals, I want us to be playing our best when it matters. And so for me, that's, like I said, in those conference games, and then once the sectional gets here, making sure that we're clicking like we need to click. And I've had years where that has happened, and I've had years where that has not happened. And so trying to figure out as a coach, how do you maximize that and how do you get your players ready is important.
So would you prefer to play stuff at such a tough conference and sectional, or do you think actually last year it played to your benefit, having already played so many tough teams in your sectional that allowed you to, go farther in the season?
Yeah, I wouldn't want it any other way. So we had one of the top 5 toughest schedules in the state of Indiana, and it should be that way. We're one of the 5th, I don't know, we're 4th or 5th biggest high school in the state.
Yeah.
So we should be playing the best. And if we didn't play the best, we would not be able to compete. You look at our conference and our sectional: HSE, Noblesville, Zionsville, Westfield, Carmel, like these guys, Brownsburg, Avon, they're just loaded. And so if you don't play the best in your non-conference schedule, you're never ready for that. So I wouldn't want it any other way. We want to play the best whenever we have the chance.
I'm sure they're good, but what are your numbers like for your program?
Yeah, they're good. This year we had 36 players try out, and we kept a roster of 29.
So what does that allow you to do when your numbers are so good from a scrimmage standpoint, just working on stuff? And one, how do you manage that many? Because that is a good number compared to a lot of programs.
It is. It's excellent. We're really, really fortunate here. It allows us to have 3 teams, first of all, which a lot of programs in the state don't have freshman teams right now. And so it allows us to have a freshman team. And that's what we use it for. So we have 11 on that freshman team, and they get to play against each other every day. And then the varsity and JV have about 18 between the two. And so we're able to get up and down against each other. And obviously, you like to be able to go 5-on-5 against really good competition when you can. And so having enough players to get up and down is important.
So I'm sure you had scrimmages against other teams before the season started. But do you, and I'm sure you scrimmage inter squad, of course, but were these first couple games more valuable in that aspect because it allowed you to see like how other teams reacted to your stuff?
Yes, 100%. We did have a scrimmage against Pendleton Heights. And that the scrimmage is always very revealing. It allows us to have some film to show our kids and to really get some ideas of where we need to focus. But yeah, the first 2 games have been very revealing, especially Saturday, as far as some of our weaknesses.
So, what's a weekly practice schedule look like when you're in a season?
So we practice Monday and Friday mornings. Unless we, if we play on a Friday or a Monday, we won't practice that day, but we go Mondays and Fridays, 6:15 to 7:45. And then we'll go after school the other days. So, this week it's Monday and Friday morning, Tuesday and Thursday after school. And then Thursday we have an event at our school called Tiger Madness, which is like a, kind of like like a midnight madness kind of thing where we bring in the students and the boys and the girls teams are together and we just try to create interest for our teams. And then on Saturday we play 2 games. So a typical week would be a Monday and Friday morning practice, and then after school practices throughout the week when we don't have games.
As a coach, do you prefer the Monday or the Friday practices? Or I'm sorry, do you prefer the morning or the afternoon practices? There we go.
The morning. We are much better in the morning. I think we're way more focused. The girls haven't had a chance to have any distractions yet. They just got to school for the most part. They're having a good day, and there's just a lot less on their mind. And so I think our morning practices are some of our best practices. I'm a morning person, so I prefer that. And then selfishly, I have a 4-month-old son. So when we practice in the morning, I get to spend a few hours with him after school, which is really great too.
Yeah, that's fair. How tall is your team in terms of well, height? Yeah, that's what tall means.
This is one of the bigger teams that we've had. So we have, I think we probably are listed at 6'2", 6'1", 6 foot. And then, our guards have our guards either have decent size or they're really small. And so, but this is one of this team is definitely bigger than last year's team, as far as that goes.
So does that allow you to do a little some different things as a coach when it comes to rebounding, or I guess lack of sending people to go rebound and get out in transition? What does that allow you to do as a coach when your team's a little bit bigger?
Well, in theory, yes. However,
But
as you know, you have to rebound the basketball regardless of how tall you are. I would say honestly, it gives us a little more freedom offensively. It allows us to play through the post a little bit better. We graduated 3 really skilled forwards last year in Haley and Olivia Smith and Alicia Triplett. And they were good at playing in the post, but we didn't have that post player that we could throw it into and really could make a post move just because they're bigger. And so I think that's going to be advantageous for us this year, is to be able to get some of those touches.
what does that allow you to do on the perimeter when you have a post threat that's actually able to draw some attention?
Well, the numbers don't lie that shooters are better when the pass comes from the inside out. It's a higher percentage shot than it does when it comes from around the perimeter. And so we really try to get as many post touches as we can, even if they're not going to finish. I think it just benefits our shooters in general because the angle's better, but you're right. It makes the defense have to work and respect that inside game. And that should free some stuff up for some of our attackers as well.
What you've been there for 7 years now, and how has your coaching style evolved over that time period?
So I would say that I have become more confident, which has allowed me to become a little bit more calm. I also think my perspective has changed. I think that, it's really easy when you are a young coach to be so concerned about the wins and the losses, regardless of what time of season it is. And one of the things that I've really had to learn coaching at a school like Fisher's and against a schedule that we play is that the schedule is just brutal. And we will go through stretches where things will not go our way. And, not hitting the panic button is important, and taking each game for what it is and learning from it. At the end of every practice, our players say 2 things. They repeat after me and they say, basketball is what I do. It is not who I am. Everything that happens to me today is an opportunity to learn and grow. And I think that that is what we try to live out and that's probably some of the greatest growth that I've shown as a coach, is just that perspective of, this game is a lot more fun when you don't put as much pressure on it. And also the results tend to come as well when you take that pressure of winning and solely winning off.
So with that, what from a coach's perspective, I guess maybe system wise, Was there anything did you try at first that didn't work? I guess you've since abandoned in the last 7 years.
Well, we try and abandon things a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot. We've been pretty consistently running the read and react offense, and defensively we're pretty much a man team. I do think there were things early on that we tried that didn't work, but I also think that each team is different, and that's one of the things we learned on Saturday night, is that this team is not last year's team offensively. And so, trying to figure out how can I, as their coach, help them to be successful. I think all along I've been way more confident as a coach in my culture and my team building side than I have been in the X's and O's. But I think I've been so fortunate to be surrounded by really great coaches. My varsity assistant is just excellent, and he has really helped me to grow in the X's and O's part of the game. And so I think that's another way I've evolved, is just a confidence in that. And then I think also just, as far as, this might not have exactly been your question, but as far as strategy of working with players, I think that I have really learned and embraced the idea that not every player is the same, and that is okay. I really try to speak the truth. And I think early on in my coaching career, it was a lot harder to speak the truth because I was afraid of conflict, being, younger. And now I'm not afraid to tell a player, obviously in a calm and most of the time calm, but loving way, what they need to do better. And that has just created a better dynamic in our practices when there's able to be that feedback given.
So you mentioned your staff. How big of a staff do you have right now?
Well, this year we have a really large coaching staff, including myself. There are 10 members of it, which I know is crazy. And a lot of people listening to this will think, wow, that's huge. And it is. And it's awesome. We were fortunate enough to have some success last year. And we have 3 volunteers on staff who come almost every day and don't expect a cent in return. And then obviously myself and our varsity assistant. And then we have a JV assistant, and a freshman assistant. And then we also have someone who takes care, which is really, really helpful for me as a head coach.
Yeah, but how nice is it when you can have or what does it allow you to do from a flexibility wise when you're a coach and you have that many people on staff?
Well, it allows us to, first of all, it allows me as the head coach to spend a lot more time focusing on coaching basketball. And I think that one of the biggest surprises to me when I took over this position 7 years ago was the amount of work outside of basketball. Everybody knows that coaches have to write practice plans and do scouting reports and all that kind of stuff, but there's just a lot that goes on outside of it. And our coaching staff this year has just been excellent in, they take care of the stats, and they're taking care of our film exchange, and they're taking care of the booster club. And it's allowing me to focus on our kids and on coaching basketball. And I'm just so, so fortunate to have them as eager and willing to help as they are.
Is it not intimidating is not the right word. What's it like coaching at such a big school when it is like a top 5 school in the state from a size wise?
Well, I think initially it was a little bit intimidating. And, it is also, being a female is, in our conference and our sectional, actually, there are, Noblesville has a female, Westfield has a female, Brownsburg has a female. So half of us are females, which is good. I try to look at it as just an opportunity. And I really do. I come to work every day and I'm like, how lucky am I that I get to work in a place, this place supports coaches really well. And our athletic department really makes me understand that, they worry about how we do things less than how many games we win. And so that helps. There were times, especially early on, where definitely I would walk into a game and I would think, holy cow, like, here we are, I'm bringing our team in here and we're playing a top 5 team. And that just kept happening. And now, now it's like, it seems like every other week we're getting a top 10 team. So you kind of get used to it, but you do have to take a step back every once in a while and just look at and think, how lucky are we? I mean, not many high school girls basketball players anywhere. I mean, Indiana is the best high school basketball there is in the nation, probably. And so, not many players get to play in front of a crowd of over 4,000 people. And our girls last year, in that sectional semifinal night, where they had Zionsville and Hamilton Southeastern playing in that early game, and then or we were maybe the early game. I don't even remember now. And then Noblesville and us went into double overtime. I mean, and you're in a absolutely packed house. Those are the moments where I just have to take a step back and pinch myself and say, like, this is crazy. I'm coaching high school girls basketball and we're playing in front of 4,000 people. So it's pretty awesome.
The you kind of going back a little bit, you mentioned earlier that the post to the perimeter pass, is a really high percentage 3-point shot. When did you, I guess, when did you kind of try to make that and I guess it's more of a this year thing. When did you try to make that a focus in your offense? When did you kind of like learn that learn that, and then decide that was going to be part of your offense?
Honestly, it wasn't until last year I was doing some research because, I used to be under the impression that we didn't want to do a whole lot of shooting with rebounders under the basket because in a game, you don't get a lot of shots that way. And I still believe that. And we still do a lot of game-like shooting. That's one of the things I really believe in. We don't do a lot of just shooting drills where they're just getting shots up. Almost all of our shots in practice are coming from, off of screens and off of reads that we make in the game. And so we try to make those passes realistic, but it was in that vein that I was, I think I was reading something and it was brought to my attention that actually it is a higher percentage shot to shoot it from that kick out under the rim. It's just a straight on shot. It's just easier from the pass. And so actually it was within the last year to year and a half, I would say, that I really started emphasizing that.
And then with that, I guess kind of wrapping up here, what's your biggest thing as a coach that gets a kid playing time? Is it their ball handling? Is it their shooting? Is it their IQ? What is their, the fast track way to get playing time?
Well, I think a couple things. I think first of all, you have to do what we ask. And so for us, it's not necessarily a skill thing. I think that the skill comes into play. But, one thing that is pretty interesting, I would say somewhat unique about the area in which we coach. So, maybe for people who aren't listening or who are listening, who don't know, we live in Hamilton County, Indiana. It's an extremely high socioeconomic area. And our students and our athletes have really, really good access to training. And that's the truth for everyone in our sectional. And so, the sectional isn't going to be won it's probably not, honestly, going to be won by the team that has strictly the best and most skilled players, because everyone trains all the time. They all train together. And so it's not necessarily that skill that's going to set them apart. And we talk about this, so for us, as far as, earning your playing time, you have to be willing to do what we are asking. So first of all, you have to defend. And then second of all, it's other things. Are you playing within yourself? It's your shot selection. Are you taking 8s and 9s, right? So out of 10, 8s and 9s are shots that you're going to hit a lot of the time. And so are you taking those kinds of shots? What kind of a teammate are you? I will tell you, I have a pretty low tolerance for not being a great teammate. And so if you're not being a great teammate, you probably aren't going to see the floor until you decide you're going to be a great teammate. And so for me, it's just a unique situation here that a lot of our players are skilled. And so it's figuring out which combinations work well together. We do look a lot at plus minus combinations after games, which 5 together did really well, and which players individually were good plus minus and which ones weren't. And you can't read too much into that, but it can be helpful when you look at it from a statistical analytics perspective.
And then the flip side of that, I guess, what's the quickest way to get on your bad side as a coach? Is it just not listening? Would it be that?
Well, I mean, I think the quickest way to get on, to get me frustrated with you is is your attitude. Whether it's towards me or even, I mean, more importantly, towards your teammates. That I have just so low tolerance for that. And we do a ton of work in our program on how to treat one another, servant leadership, what it means to lead well and to be a great teammate, what it looks like. And so when they aren't following that, it gets frustrating because they know better. And so, yes, that is probably the quickest way to get Coach Votaw frustrated is to not be a great teammate or to not do things the way we expect them to be done.
That's really all I have from a prepared question, wise. Is there anything you want to get out there?
No, I think this has been great. I think it's exciting. It's an exciting time, obviously, to be a Lady Tiger, and this is a new team that we have this year. And like I said, they're working on forming their own identity, and I'm excited to get in the gym with them and continue to get them as prepared as we can for conference and sectional play.
Well, this has been Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast, and thanks for coming on, Coach.
Thanks so much.
Hey guys, this is Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe where you can. Thanks.